Well, hello there, friends, lovers, and thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy. Amy, best part of the show. Amy, Neill, well, and you. 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir and you. Good to see you in the chat. Some of our favorite people are already here on this fine September 14th. Well, is it fine? Yeah. Is it a fine September 14th?
It is on the whole, yeah, for the most part.
It is on the whole. Oh, so we've got so much to talk about this week. Thank you for joining us. It is Sunday, September 14th, the 257th day of the year. The 257th day of this, your best year yet. Even if you don't feel that it's your best year yet, we're going to make a case for it. We've got to, given everything that happened this week, which started off with a bloodletting. No, I'm not talking about Charlie Kirk. I donated blood on Monday.
Oh, did you now?
All I need is a pint today. No, I gave away a pint, and that was a good way to start what was otherwise a very challenging week. I'm talking to you, I'm pointing the finger. We had a friend who used to be part of Great Lakes Objectivists and the previous group, and he had that finger pointing thing. When he would say something with emphasis, he would get that fingertip in your face. And it's a terribly rude thing to do, but we have so many fond memories of him that now it's like a gesture of affection.
His name was Bob Carvenin.
Bob Carvenin, one of the classics, one of the greats.
He was, I forget exactly, he was into science, he was into biology, he was the professor at Wayne State University for a long time.
We've always had in our group unfair number of engineers and scientists.
And one time for my birthday, he gave me a box of Morton's kosher salt, a box of it. And he printed it out and put a label on it that said, Amy is worth her salt.
You can tell we've got memories. We've got memories to go of this great guy who would point his finger. So I'm pointing my finger at you. 2025, your best year yet. 102 days until Christmas, 47 days until Halloween, if you're into that kind of thing. And most important stat, days-wise, you have 8 days left if you are in the Northern Hemisphere until the autumnal equinox.
Yes.
Now, if you're down under, of course, you've got you've got spring right around the corner. And that's great, but it's funny, in the States, we're broadcasting from Motown, just outside Detroit, Michigan, and in the States, people are already thinking autumn. As soon as we hit Labor Day, they figure summer's over, but it's not. 8 days of summer left, and I'm saying it to make sure you take advantage of those 8 days. On this date, September 14th, people are like, when are they going to get to the news? When are they going to talk about Charlie Kirk? It's coming. Trust me, it's coming. But on this date, September 14th, 1814, Francis Scott Key pens a poem.
Ooh, does he now?
The national anthem, which of course is called The Defense of Fort McHenry.
Oh, yes. It's not called the Star-Spangled Banner?
The poem was printed in newspapers and eventually set to music by a great composer, right? No, it was set to a popular English drinking song. I
thought it was a German drinking song, but it's probably both.
Well, we'll get to the Germans in just a minute. To Anacreon in Heaven by composer John Stafford Smith.
Huh.
It's a drinking song. And President Woodrow Wilson announced that what will now be called the Star-Spangled Banner will be played at all official events. And it was adopted as our official national anthem in 1931. But this is the day that Francis Scott Key wrote about the defense of Fort McHenry. One more in history. Happy birthday. Well, a happy birthday to the late Alexander von Humboldt. If you are not familiar with Humboldt, I saw his birthday coming up, and we learned about Humboldt back in grade school, and now I don't remember a thing about him. He was amazing. He was German. There's your German there. Actually, he was Prussian back, in those old days, because he was born on this date in 1769. He was an explorer. He was a scientist. He was a freaking mountain climber. He was a Renaissance man. He did eventually get to America, and some of our founding fathers met him and realized Humboldt was amazing. Look him up. It is his birth date. It's Sam Neill's birthday. He is 77 years old on this day. All the Jurassic Park fans, of course, are celebrating that. It is Ron DeSantis' birthday. I'll connect that to what's going on in a bit. What surprises me is Ron DeSantis is only 46 years old today. He's a youngin'. He's a kid. Yeah. He's a little kid running around doing little kid things. Weird. I probably shouldn't say it, but that's younger than either one of us. And he's down there in Florida doing governor things. Ron DeSantis could be worse, and we'll get to that in a minute. It's also Amy Winehouse's birthday. Sadly, a member of the 27 Club. We lost her way too soon, but if you're an Amy Winehouse fan, do celebrate. Spin one of her CDs or stream it off the service. Does anybody spin anything anymore? And one more on this date. Yes, I want to know in the chat. You know, I'm always going to have a conversation starter. And what I should say on a day like this is, are you on the left or the right? What do you think of everything that happened this week? No, what I really want to know is what's your favorite flavor of Pop-Tart? Now, I know, half of our audience, maybe 90% of our audience are Ayn Rand fans, objectivists, and way too rational to be eating empty carbs. You're all probably carnivores. But if you did ever enjoy a toaster pastry, I want to know what your favorite flavor of Pop-Tarts is. Well, and we've got the combination box here, but you can go outside of the... Incidentally, we were at the grocery store earlier, not today, but in preparation for Great Lakes Objectivist Saturday night meeting, our monthly get-together, making dinner. And I knew in advance, because I had already started the notes, this was the day. This was actually the day in 1964 that Kellogg's starts selling Pop-Tarts.
Oh. Now, was it something where there was another Pop-Tart company that Kellogg bought up or something? Or?
I did not see that in any of my notes. All I know is this was the date that Kellogg started selling them. And it's the kind of, because we've done many of these things, I would have thought it was much earlier.
In the absence of knowledge, we all need to come up with conspiracy theories, right? Am I right?
You are right. You are so right. It was undoubtedly the FDA, the Federal Death Administration, was making up ways to get us to eat more carbs. They'd already invented the food pyramid. Yes. So undoubtedly they put Pop-Tarts in the biggest part of the food. You should eat more Pop-Tarts than anything else.
Carbohydrates are good for you. They give you energy. Now, I got to say that I like strawberry, I think, the best. Probably cherry is okay.
But here's a question for you. Strawberry frosted or unfrosted? Because Draco Van Ryn, there's a cool screen name. I usually tell people you should always use your real name, but that's a pretty damn cool name.
Pretty cool.
Says unfrosted strawberry. Unfrosted strawberry.
Oh, yeah. You can
Naked
do that.
Pop-Tarts. I have to admit I'm a sucker for frosting, even though it's, I don't know if it's really frosting.
Well,
it's more
I
like
gotta
a sugary
say this.
crust.
Last time I had a Pop-Tart, I felt sick, but while I was eating it, it was delicious.
Well, there you go. And, there's some, again, that are not in our variety pack there. They're apple, cinnamon, and...
Yeah, Hookem in the chat says grape.
Grape?
Grape?
Okay.
Pop-Tart?
I want to know if you're just having fun with this, or were there really such a... It could be. Because if you... Looking at the grocery store aisle, they had Pop-Tarts I didn't want to buy because they were not representative of Pop-Tarts being started in 1964.
No, there's
outrageous, crazy stuff.
There's grape
Pop-Tarts. There are grape Pop-Tarts.
Frosted grape. And there's also a wild grape.
There you go. Well, congratulations, Hookem, for having a flavor taste that none of us would have guessed. So, anyway, happy birthday to Pop-Tarts. It's funny because we were buying groceries. Filet mignon and chicken breast for salads for yesterday to go along with Amy's amazing butternut squash soup. And I saw these on the shelf. I'm like, okay, I'm going to mention Pop-Tarts. I got to buy the Pop-Tarts. We get up to the aisle, or we're waiting behind all these people, well, a couple of people to get to the checkout. And I see by the checkout, instead of buying this whole big box of 12 Pop-Tarts, they had the little shrink wrap, little ones at the checkout aisle.
Oh.
I thought I should put this back and just buy these two. So we're not going to eat 12 Pop-Tarts, right?
We will eventually.
And then I thought, well, that's true. They probably last forever. They're like best by 2085. Yeah. And I was going to put this up on the shelf and take the little one. And then I thought that would be rude because that means some stock boy, stock girl, or stock gender not identified, needs to take this and put it back on the shelves. And then it gets into that whole, do you return your shopping carts after you're done shopping? So anyway, that's why we ended up with the big box of 12 Pop-Tarts. Thank you for sharing. I had toasted s'more Pop-Tarts in the UK. I have seen the s'more Pop-Tarts equal to reality.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you say that because, Amy, you were having s'mores last night at Great Lakes Objectivist.
I was. Well,
afterward. We were going to throw a bonfire, and then we did so many other things, we never got to it.
Yeah, and everybody kind of left a little early, like they were responsible adults or something. And
It was the first glow that I can remember that wrapped up well before midnight, like maybe before 11. And that's unusual. And it's still a nice long night. We started at 5 o'clock, so that was 5.5 hours, but
all this responsibility,
unusual.
it's intolerable.
Unusual. If you're not already coming, if you're near Southeast Michigan and you're not already attending Great Lakes Objectivists, and you are an all-nighter, see, we got to get more all-nighters. Although we're all getting a little older. Maybe the usual one in the morning is fine. We used to go till 4 or 5.
Yeah. Well, we did stay up late to watch a Hercule Poirot episode, one of the longer, more current episodes.
Yeah, you've been,
and it was called The Halloween Party. And
we have been enjoying the David Suchet series.
It's almost, Halloween's tomorrow. Everybody, you got to know what you're going to be dressing up as. But so anyway, back to the Pop-Tarts. We've got.
Oh, and Tom asked, do you eat them raw or toaster them?
Oh, we put them in a toaster.
I'm a toaster guy. In fact, I will do something I wonder if any of you have ever done. I will toast them and then put a butter pat on the top.
Oh, I've never done that before.
I don't usually do that, but I've done that several times, and it's a bit of an extra treat.
The values are exponential, folks.
Especially if you got some of that fancy butter we got for Glow.
Yes. Yeah, you bought Kerrygold.
Kerrygold butter is, our European friends know, because they are closer to where that comes from. Usually I'm a Land O'Lakes guy, any decent brand of butter, but for special events, you got to have the Kerrygold. Put a little bit of that on a toasted Pop-Tart.
Yeah, Ian says he's only had the original flavors like blueberry and strawberry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend eating them. I'll just say that. They're just delicious.
You don't recommend eating them?
I don't, but they're delicious.
Oh, because they give you tummy ache.
Yes.
Right.
They make me feel sick.
And they are empty carbohydrates. They are.
Yeah, I don't know what's in them.
Well, two pastries is 370 calories. All the flavors are identical, which doesn't surprise me at all, because the flavor goo that they put in there, I'm sure, is 90% all the same sugar and oil. Not that I'm being critical, but yeah.
You just got to be realistic.
Now, if you are a toaster pastry fan, I do have to say one thing. If you're a Pop-Tarts kind of guy, and you young people, you can do that. You can burn these calories off real easy. Try, if you haven't already, toaster strudel.
Yeah, Pillsbury toaster strudel.
Toaster strudel is pretty damn
really
good.
Delicious. Real delicious.
And it seems a little less processed, like it's real food. It's probably not, but definitely do try toaster strudel. Those are frozen, by the way. You find them in your grocer's freezer aisle. And so we'll keep keeping. Oh, Hookham says raw, only ever raw. Ooh. I've eaten raw Pop-Tarts. But only when there wasn't a toaster available. Or if I was in a super hurry. I had a job, one of my first jobs in IT, actually, information technology, was at the Oldie building, at the Oldie Discount Stock Brokerage downtown Detroit. And they would have, it was a 10-floor building, and on the 10th story, every morning, they would have a continental breakfast laid out. It was primarily for the executives and for the stockbrokers. And in a building like that, the stockbrokers are like 1/6 or 1/7 of the entire staff. So it wasn't for everybody. But the IT guys we got invited to go up there and share in the continental breakfast, and Pop-Tarts were one of the things. And if you were in a hurry, you might grab one and not toast it. And that is the only time I can say, Hookham, that I would eat a Pop-Tart untoasted. But if that is your preference, the most important thing, Ayn Rand used to say, in everything, you should know what you like. You should have favorites, and you should get them.
Yes, have your favorites.
Do have your favorites.
Tom, he loves date squares. I haven't had a date square in a long, long time. I should get those.
I heard of them. I don't know if I've ever had them.
Yeah, my mom would eat them, and I'd be like, ugh, this is disgusting. And then I like them as an adult.
I didn't date squares. I dated hip chicks.
Yeah.
Okay. Under shameless self-promotion, and what are we listening to this week? Really, I've just got the recent Yaron Brook show and my talk on determination versus determinism. The topic of determinism has been coming up again, and this time in relation to this week's event.
Like a bad rash?
Like a bad rash. And we talked about it before, but I did do a whole episode of Life on Earth, the show that I and we did with the Ayn Rand Center UK. So there's a link to that in the show description. Links to everything we'll be talking about in the show description on YouTube and on Facebook. Speaking of which, and I apologize if you are watching us on Facebook, I forgot to bring up the comments for Facebook. Let me do that real quick here.
Oh, Linda loves toaster strudel. Ooh,
Yeah, we've got to have the
good
Facebook comments
taste.
up because Linda Cordero watches on Facebook.
And Jim is there.
And Jim
Hello,
Ashley,
Jim.
the poet, the author, the writer, Jim Ashley, who incidentally sent some of what we'll be discussing today.
Yeah, Jim, you're going to
hello,
have to
Jim.
wait. You're going to have to wait on the whole Amy drinks thing again because
And I have
that's out of my diet right now.
And I have an embarrassing admission. Because Jim writes, speaking of Hercule Poirot, have either of you read Agatha Christie's The Murder of Roger Ackroyd?
No, we've never read that.
And my embarrassing admission is I have never read an Agatha Christie book. Seen a lot of the films and television series, and I've never actually, I don't think.
We're lame.
If I have, I don't
read
remember.
everything in the world, so
Yeah. So
maybe someday when we're very old.
I guess I shouldn't out myself. I should have just said the short answer is no. I haven't read that book. And, Andrea's in the chat. Hello, Andrea. Good to see you. Saw your recent Facebook post. It is always nice to see your smiling face.
Gary's on YouTube. Gary.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, we are trying to get our YouTube numbers up, but if you're watching on Facebook and that is more convenient, that is just fine. That's why we are there too. And, we're multicasting because I'm an IT guy. And, of course, we do everything in the extra high-tech way. Now, normally our next segment would last about 2 minutes. And it's Robert and Amy take on the news. And we always offer our own unique slant because we've got Yaron Brook to handle it in detail.
Yes.
And plenty of other people talking about the news of the day. And usually it just needs a little bit of tweaking or a little frosting on top, let's say,
Right.
to make it a little more aligned with the universe that we believe we all live in. But no, this week we're talking about the news of the day. The whole damn well, not the whole damn show. We will start with the news of the day, and then we will take you to someplace nobody else is taking you. In fact, I'm going to end this episode with 3 takeaways that will change everything for you, and suddenly your sun will shine brighter on your house, and your car will get better gas mileage, and you will be more virile in whatever areas of your life you want to be virile in, and et cetera, more promises than I can possibly keep.
Yeah, you'll get the Pop-Tart effect and have brain energy from it, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The glucose levels and your hormones and whatever. No, seriously, folks. We are talking about the news this week. We have something different to say about it, and I think it's important. Some of you will know that Amy has commented on the socials and has reacted to what some folks have said, while I have remained mute.
Well,
not
you've
quite
remained calm. You have.
I stayed mute and moot.
What is it? What's the phrase? You had self-control. You had anyway. You had something that equates with self-control that I can't think of right now.
Yeah, I was practicing one of those sayings. I think you first told me, or maybe I ran it into somewhere that Steve brought up last night, which is observe, don't absorb.
Yes, I brought that up at one point.
Yeah, well, I know your version of it too was step over it, not in it, which I've always loved.
Yeah,
the news this week,
it's the opposite of when in trouble, when in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout.
Which is much more poetic. Heinlein was much more poetic. When in trouble, when in doubt, run in circles, scream. Yeah. Oh my God. Jim says, I've eaten raw Pop-Tarts. I've also eaten Bayer Children's Aspirin, the orange flavored. Also, dog food, well, when I was a kid, some dry nuggets or kibble. I think it was Gravy Train. I think Gravy Train was the wet one. There was like the gravy one. Or maybe you added water to it to make the gravy come. Anyway, yeah, when you were a kid, you tried everything. I won't even say what I tried when I was a kid. Actually, I won't even say what I tried when I was an adult. But yes, that's very funny. Okay, not funny at all. I'm dressed in black. You have not seen me dressed in black in a while. And
you're not even a red door.
Yeah. Okay. Another one of those things between us that apparently I didn't get.
Remember, it's the Rolling Stones song.
Oh, right. I see a red door and I want it painted black. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
folks who've been watching 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Acer for a while, specifically folks who've been watching this show
thanks for still watching us.
If you've been watching the show for 5.5 years, you know all of our early episodes, all of them, like the first 100, maybe more. Every show I had on a black jacket.
Yeah.
And a black hat with a white brim.
Right.
And a red t-shirt or some variation. And I always said early on, I think I still say this, it doesn't matter what I wear because it's Robert and Amy and nobody cares what the guy looks like. People only care what the girl looks like. And as long as Amy is cute, it doesn't matter what I wear. At some point, though, I got the white jacket and started wearing a white jacket. And then I started wearing print shirts and things changed. But, I'm dressed in black because the world lost... It was very sad. The world lost a Ukrainian immigrant to the United States this week, and it was horribly tragic. We also lost somebody named Charlie Kirk. Is that a Star Trek thing?
No, it's not Captain Charlie Kirk. It's just Charlie Kirk.
Oh, okay. We've been watching Strange New Worlds, and both Jim Kirk and his brother are on there. What's Jim Kirk's brother's name? Sam Kirk.
Right.
So anyway, not to be too irreverent, because this is important stuff. We lost a staunch advocate, a fighter for free speech this week, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was a hero. He was also kind of a villain, and therein lies the problem. Charlie Kirk was one of the best advocates we have for free speech out there. He not only advocated for free speech, he went out and did it. He did a lot of things. You will know he started the organization Turning Point USA. And one of the things that he's been doing lately and has done all along is going on college tours. This week, he did his usual thing. He went out in front of thousands. Thousands. How many people show up when we do a live event? Well, not thousands. Thousands of people came to hear him talk, and this happens wherever he goes. And his whole method is, he says, prove me wrong. The whole change my mind thing that the other Steven Crowder used to do. Mm-hmm. Well, he's got his version of that. Prove me wrong. And he would have a discussion with, no matter how nuts you were, if you were willing to speak, he would talk to you. And obviously his shtick was he was going to try to change your mind. You weren't really going to change his mind. He had a manual, a catalog. I don't know if he had a physical catalog, but he had a whole manual of the answers to every argument that might be thrown at him. All the zingers laid out in advance. So no matter what you asked him, he could put you in a place to see that you were wrong. And
more importantly, the word zingers.
Yes, he was very good with zingers. Well,
I don't know if I would call it intellectual content.
There was substance behind them.
Some of it, a little bit. But it was, the approach, I would say, was gotcha. Gotcha, you're wrong. Gotcha, you're wrong. And that kind of not terribly helpful way of dealing with ideas. But it did work well in terms of preaching to the choir. Mm-hmm. You could get 3,000 people to shout because your answer was, and half of them were even against you, but your answer was such a gotcha, such a zinger. Anyway, whatever you think of Charlie Kirk, whether you regard him as a hero, as in some ways he was, or whether you regard him as a villain, and we could make that case too, he was killed this week. Yeah. He was shot, and best we can tell, he was wearing a bulletproof vest because he knew this kind of thing could happen. He had commented on it in the past. He had said the Second Amendment is so important that even if it means some people will be shot and killed, it's more important than that. Incidentally, I agree with that. And that sounds horrible to say to both his fans and his critics, but it's sad that people are using that against him. Mm. In any event, he was shot. Bulletproof vest, smart guy. He's not going to go out without a bulletproof. Well, except that if you have a 30-06 and you are even an amateur sharpshooter,
they're saying that the shooter actually missed. The shooter was going for the chest, and because the bulletproof vest can't be penetrated, there was a ricochet. It was actually the bullet bounced off his vest and hit him in the neck. And that is sad.
Yeah,
and
it is. It's
whatever
horrific.
whatever your criticisms of Charlie Kirk might be, well, that kind of gets to the issue. What do you do with that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you join in the voices shouting? Well, for example, I'll start with this.
Yeah.
One of the voices that was shouting out was saying, I'm sick and tired, and sick and tired after a few hours, because everything happens very fast when these things happen. I am sick and tired of people saying they're sad that Kirk died, but, and then giving some criticisms of him, saying why they weren't a fan of Charlie Kirk, but they're very sad that he was shot. It's an unfortunate thing. Like, how dare you, if you're going to say anything at all, say anything but. What a horrible violation of individual rights and freedom of speech, and obviously Charlie Kirk's life. There were other people saying Charlie Kirk he advocated the kind of positions that strip people of their rights and even put them in danger. What are you talking about, Charlie Kirk? No, he was great. Well, read what he wrote or what he said, and the quotes are very easy to find about gay people, about gay marriage, about abortion, and without even getting into the whole transgender issue. Charlie Kirk put people's lives at risk. He was responsible for countless deaths. It's not right that he was shot, but I'm glad he's gone. That kind of stuff. And then, of course, you have countless, not even right to call them conspiracy theories, crazy ideas from people who had no idea. It took a while to find out who shot him. No idea who shot him, no idea why he was shot, but who were absolutely convinced it was the left, as if 140 million people all held a gun and pointed it at this poor guy. Or some really wacky, Amy, you told me some of the really wacky things that you read.
Yeah.
And I read them too.
Yeah. Yeah. That the MAGA or Trump put him up to it, and they wanted to cover it up so that we won't talk about the Epstein files anymore. Yeah, things crazy like that. Yeah, everybody wanted to kind of, have immediate gratification. They wanted immediate answers. They didn't want to be patient. They didn't want to actually be rational. And they felt things very strongly, and then they translated that into, it has to be this. Yeah.
Yeah. A curious headline from ABC News. After Charlie Kirk's killing, MAGA world mourns. But some say, well, we're at war. Very strange thing for ABC News to take, given where they are on that left-right spectrum. After Charlie Kirk's death, teachers and professors nationwide fired or disciplined over social media posts. Pentagon announces zero tolerance for military personnel mocking Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Do you want me to jump in on these? But go ahead.
And maybe you can guess now. Why did we call this episode today, September 14th? Something must be done.
Something must be done.
If you've seen the film Chocolat, released in the year 2000, you might recognize that line. Things in this quaint little village are going awry, and the gypsies have shown up on the riverboat, and there's a big party going on, and Serge, whose wife has left him after years of abuse, comes to the Count, who is also the mayor of the city. And they're out there during the time of Lent, partying and making a mockery of everything. And the Count is scandalized and says something must be done. If you've seen the film, eventually Serge does go out and do something. And it's the kind of thing you get when you find yourself thinking or feeling, we won't use the word thinking there, something must be done.
Mm-hmm.
So what did I see all week? Something must be done. This is a war. Oh, like metaphorically, no, this is a real war, a civil war, except not very civil.
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to blows. It's going to come down to, and there's no other way out of this. And if you care about the country, I won't go on. Some of you, I'm sure, have already heard all of that kind of thing.
Right. So are you going to take your guns to the grocery store when you go out next? I mean, what? Yeah. A lot of people kind of, dispensed with reality in some ways this week.
See, we laugh. We can, because it's hard not to. When you say something like, well, you're going to start shooting at somebody because you have reason to believe, they're doing something criminal, and you just start shooting. Like if you saw a boat with 10 people aboard and you just decide that, well, they're probably drug runners. Mm. And given their route, they probably were drug runners. So you just start shooting. Or we're going to decide that, well, this person's on the left, and we've already, just established that the left committed murder here. So does that make the left fair game? Yeah, sounds like we're exaggerating. I have read, I don't know how many people this week say exactly that, including a few people in our circle of friends. Well, it's
that's horrible.
It's been...
Yeah. When you're the kind of person who completely disregards the idea, the amazingly magnificent, absolutely beyond, like the best thing on earth, the best concept on earth throughout human history, or one of the best concepts, is due process. And you just are flippant about it. Of course, you're going to come down and say, oh, yeah, we can just...
Yeah, well, due process is only for citizens. Well, wait a minute. You got somebody you don't know yet if he's a citizen. You're just assuming. Due process is how you figure that out.
Right.
Well, no. We know. We don't need due process. We just know. We know when they're not citizens. You can tell. You can tell by looking at them. You can tell by the way they look. You can tell by their tattoos.
Yeah. And this is the kind of dehumanization that people are engaging in. And they don't or refuse to see people as individuals. They don't see people as, well, what do you call it? Well, we call it human beings. But what's a human being? Human being is a conceptual animal. Somebody who has to process their own thoughts and emotions, and they choose who they want to be in life. They actually get to grow their character.
Yes.
They could be an amazing person, and you're going to disregard them because they're part of some tribal collective, perhaps, that you want to dispense with.
Yeah, and again, you're not disregarding them because of any actual thing they've done. You are disregarding them for the opinions they've expressed. Mm. And we're not talking about threats to life and limb, imminent danger. We're just talking about their opinions. If they're on the left, obviously they deserve whatever. They are fair game, if you know that expression.
Yeah.
I'm going to call out 5 people. And I'm not going to call out 5 people for criticism. That would be all too easy. I'm going to call out 5 people who you should know about who are good people.
Yeah, good.
And I think I'm going to start with Xenia Yanu. I'm pronouncing Xenia Yanu's name the way like Jennifer Yanolo pronounces her name. The name is spelled I-O-A. It's a heck of a way to start a last name. I-O-A-N-N-O-U. Mm-hmm. Which, again, if it has any Greek connection, it would be Yanu, but it might also be Io Anau. So find her on YouTube or Facebook. If you're not a Facebook person, find her on Substack. We've got a few friends who don't do Facebook. All but maybe I think all of these people are also on Substack. So you can find them there. And Xenia has been one of the voices of reason this week. Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons I want to shout her out. And I'm not just going to give you names and make you look them up. But Xenia has been a voice of reason. And I answered one of her posts saying a surprising number of people that you would expect to advocate for peace. Do you remember breaking away from that for a second, do you remember when the left was for peace? They were the peaceniks. They were, get us out of Vietnam, get us out of Korea, get us out of all these wars. All we are saying is give peace a chance. A surprising number of people you'd expect to advocate for peace are praising violence. And not just the shooting of Charlie Kirk, but they were all too happy to say, well, yeah, you shouldn't shoot people, but, and the but was bigger than anything they had to say about the shooting. And people you would expect to advocate for grace. You know, our Christian friends, for example, the people who claim that they have the moral high ground. People you'd expect to advocate for grace are being enormously ungracious. You know, the behavior of our more quote-unquote right-wing friends this week. Wednesday was a difficult day. A day to share our thoughts, a day to say, here's what I think, but Wednesday was a very bad day to say, and here's what you should think, and here's how you should react, here's how you should be behaving during all of this, here's how you should express yourself, here's the wrong thing to say, what you said is the wrong thing to say, you are doing this all wrong. Wednesday was not a good day to say that. And now that the murderer has been caught, I originally wrote this yesterday or the day before, and the dust is settling. You know, I hope folks will be a little more selfish. That is, I hope folks will focus more on their own thoughts and actions, and engaging with active minds and kindred spirits on reaching, no, not the crazies, on reaching the majority on both sides, quote unquote sides, your left, your right, who are still reasonable, sane, human. And I hope folks will focus less on the fringe, the crazy, the irrational. Again, Wednesday was the wrong day. We've all heard the expression, too soon, and people say it jokingly, like, you know, is it too soon to make jokes about, you know, somebody who just died last week, last month, last year? Sometimes it is too soon. I think the day that those things happen is too soon to go crazy, but I don't think it's ever too soon to say with some graciousness, well, I didn't agree with everything, for example, that Charlie Kirk said. In fact, I think he said some terrible things. But, I mean, probably best to lead with, it's a very sad day. I'm sorry that this happened. This shouldn't happen to anybody. If you believe in free speech at all, this was a huge blow to that. If you believe in individual rights, this was a huge blow to that. There's no excuse, no reason, no sanction, nothing to be said for it. I don't think you necessarily had to then refrain from saying, because you've just given people some reason to think, well, maybe you're a huge supporter of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan, but he shouldn't have been shot. Now, I'm not going to make the same mistake. I am not, somebody brought this up this week to Yaron Brook, the paradox of tolerance. Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance. We've talked about it before. I don't know if we ever talked about it with Karl Popper's name attached to it, but there is this idea that, well, you've got to tolerate everything. Well, does that mean you need to be intolerant of intolerance? You should get angry at people who aren't tolerant enough? So there is a paradox there, and the answer to the paradox of tolerance, and Yaron, I think, did a pretty good job answering a question about that, was it depends on the content. It depends on what paradox you're talking about, or what you're being tolerant of, what you're being intolerant of. There are some things you should not be tolerant of. In other words, well, the way it was put to Yaron is, what about the lesser virtue, not one of the big seven, but the lesser virtue of tolerance? And Yaron said, it's not a virtue. It's not. It's not unconditionally good. There are times when tolerance is absolutely the wrong thing. And no, the overarching virtue, as we discussed last night at Great Lakes Objectivists, is rationality. And there are times in which it is not rational to tolerate something. So, yes, I would say it is okay. It is okay to have forbearance, to have patience, to consider an opinion. It is not okay then to say, well, in the name of tolerance, I'm going to tolerate evil.
You mentioned last night at our Great Lakes Subjectivist meeting, where we were going over the virtues in OPAR, which was absolutely wonderful and brilliant. But you mentioned there were three. Who was the guy who said there were three questions you need to ask yourself before you make a statement about something? What was that?
Yes, which is in my notes here. I just need to find it here. Yeah.
Yes, it's by
Rumi. Rumi. Well, and he's not the only one who said this kind of thing before. Yeah. Before you speak. I love this, and it's one of our takeaways here. Before you speak, let your words pass through 3 gates. You can tell this is very woo Eastern stuff, but he's absolutely right. Let your words pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Love that. Is it necessary? Could be iffier there. I don't know. Is it kind? Mm-hmm. Okay, very woo, very Eastern.
I think they're all
good
valid.
Good advice, though.
They're all valid.
And yeah. And the way that I sum that up, the way that I hold that advice is, whenever you speak, we talked about this many times, especially in our episode on purpose. Always know consciously what your purpose is in any given moment. When you're going to say something, and it might be something controversial, it might be something difficult, it might be something hurtful, you have some reason to think, I wonder if I should say this. Easy. You should know why you are saying what you are saying. That's all. You're going to say it, great. Know why you are saying it. Why am I making this statement? Now, sometimes you're just doing it in the name of free speech, in the name of getting something off your chest. Psychologically, you have a need to be visible. It could just be, I just want to say it. And it would be repression for me not to say it. But even then, you should know that, and you should know what impact you expect from it.
Right.
If you're going to say something, for example, that you know will be hurtful, well, sometimes you got to do that. But in any given instance, you should be able to say, yeah, I do need to do that, and here's why. And there's a price to be paid for doing that, and I'm willing to pay that price, whatever it is, lack of goodwill or the pushback I'm going to get or whatever. So yeah, before you speak, Rumi says, let your words pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And I think speaking with purpose answers all 3 of those, but especially, is it necessary? Mm-hmm. In other words, is there a reason? Is there a reason to say what you're going to say?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're right. I did mention that last night, and I think it's not just important in you shouldn't do it unless it passes these 3 gates. It's not that kind of thing. No. Like every virtue, and this was a huge take-home point from last night, it's not telling you what not to do. That was the big mistake everybody was making this week, was telling people what not to do, what not to say, how not to think about things, who not to associate with. No, the question of should you speak it? Well, is it necessary? That's not to stop you from doing things. That's to enable you to do things and to do them well, to say things better, to get more out of your communications, and to not ruin, not destroy values, including the values of your relationships, your friendships, your kindred spirits, your coworkers, whoever it is that you are speaking to.
Right.
Or your throngs of people on the internet who follow every word you say, or should.
Be thoughtful about what you're going to say.
Be thoughtful.
Obviously.
Be rational.
Yes.
Thoughtful doesn't mean be nice. Thoughtful means do it with thought. Think.
Yeah. Ian mentions that instead of is it kind, say is it just? I would say both.
I would say both, and you're right. You're right.
Because when I was because I was trying to be very conscientious about what I was writing, I wrote something that day, or maybe a couple things, or just kind of forwarding on some really good thoughts from Stuart Margolis, who I think you should all be subscribed to on Substack,
and who I will quote in a moment.
Yeah. I thought I need to be helpful. I want to be helpful here. And one of the first things I wrote was, if you lean left in your thinking, please consider not celebrating this situation. Be thoughtful about it. And there were more than one reason I said that, because I will say this right here. I have a lot of people on the left who are my friends, who I really care about, or people who are objectivists, who are a little bit more concerned about left, like the politics that the liberals or the left are a little bit better at. That's one of the reasons why I said, I don't agree with Charlie Kirk philosophically or morally. And that's all I just said. I didn't say he was the devil, but I just want to make sure that people understood that this is where I'm coming from. And I don't want to prescribe to anybody how they should think or feel, because it's like grieving. Something like this happens, you've got to process it. Things are just happening a mile a minute, and you're trying to figure out why, and your brain is impatient, and you don't exactly know what to do, and it sounds horrible, and it's really a nightmare. You need to grieve and process. And for somebody to say, oh, you shouldn't grieve or process this way, I would recommend not listening to people. You need to do you. And
not to say that what happened this week is something we're grieving over. I made that comparison earlier. It's like grief. Not in that you should be grieving, although grief is an element of what some people are going through. No, I was just making the point that grief, you can't tell people the right way to grieve.
Yes.
You can't tell people, oh, well, what you should do is you should isolate yourself for a while, and if you don't, obviously you're repressing it. And you also can't tell people, well, no, obviously what you need to do is face reality and stop being so weak. You can't tell people the right way to grieve.
Right.
And likewise, you can't tell people the right way to react to the kind of news that we had this week. You can have opinions about it. You can think, oh, this is terrible what this person is doing. But to go out there and say, well, you should only express this, and you should only express these thoughts, and you should only do that. This is not that kind of situation.
And it's one of those things where, I know a lot of Christians use the concept of grace, and we use that term here on our show. And I think it's a valid concept. You need to be patient with yourself and other people. You need to understand that your emotions are valid, but that you have a responsibility for translating what your emotions are into concepts, into words, and to understand what you're really feeling. You have a responsibility to yourself to do that. And you have, and I cut a lot of people slack in the last few days with regard to this situation, and I'm glad I did. Short of anybody coming up and saying, yay, violence, let's be violent.
Yeah. And if words like grace or kindness sound too woo to you, if you haven't fully understood what those words mean in a rational person's life, consider the integration of manners and virtues. Mm-hmm. Because virtues aren't out of context. You've got to apply them as a decent human being. So if grace is too much, just think manners and virtue combined.
Yes.
And being a decent human being. Incidentally, Linda Cordair of Quent Cordair Fine Art, the finest art gallery in Jackson, Wyoming, and via the internet, the finest art gallery in the world.
Yes.
Cordair.com is in the chat, and none of my criticisms go out to Linda's post earlier this week. She put up a short post that said, stop showing the damn video, or whatever the words to that effect were. Yeah. And I totally get it. I did not see the video up to the point of the bleh, and I'm glad that I didn't. But a lot of people were posting it, or links. Hey, if you want to see the full video, click here. And I kind of get it, because people should have been outraged, and seeing that video certainly left people outraged. But Linda says, my issue in the chat here, my issue was that the unedited video was horrific and was terrible to see over and over. So sad. My heart hurt for his family to have that graphic video out there. Not to mention the people who may have been psychologically triggered by seeing it. Free speech is so important. Charlie Kirk represented a lot of bad ideas, but he did not deserve to be assassinated. I think that's perfect, Linda. I think that is the way. And I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, but I will tell you that I think you were very well expressed.
Yes.
Another person on my list of heroes this week, heroes of self-expression, again, was Stuart Margolis. And I'll read from just a bit from his post. But go on Substack, find his post, Whose Side Are You On? I don't know, that sounds really contentious. No, Stuart Margolis, of course, would never do that. I'm just going to read 2 paragraphs from it. You got to read the whole thing. He says, so, this is a bit into it, what are we supposed to do? These are 2 sides we are faced with. We must choose between them. And then he says, no, you do not have to choose one side or the other. You don't gain anything or actually move the culture in a better direction by accepting this false alternative. Instead, you can fight for reason and a reality-based, that is fact-based, approach to politics. That is what a small, diverse group of people are doing. And some are self-identified liberals, some are conservatives, libertarians, and objectivists. We may disagree on a lot of policy issues, even on moral issues, but we are united in understanding that facts matter. Logic matters. The truth matters. And for a rational person, this is the only quote-unquote side worth supporting. He goes on at length. This is a very good article. It's long, and it's worth the read.
I forwarded 2 things that Stuart wrote in those days, and those couple of days there, and they're both great. I highly recommend. I support him on Substack. I think I sent him $8 a month or whatever.
Yeah, you can subscribe for free, but there are levels, and you can send him money every month.
Not only is he a great writer, but he's a great person, and I'm glad that we know him.
He's one of the heroes out there, and this is there are a lot of heroes out there. I could name 100 of you, and this is just this week's honor roll because people like, for example, Nick Provenzo. People like Nick help keep us sane. They remind us that most people aren't crazy. Most people are, well, they're not out there. They're not on the internet. They're not on Substack, and we're not hearing what they're saying. What we're hearing are the crazy makers. But no, good voices and kindred spirits. And I don't just mean that in a woo way, but people who we share values with, they are out there. And one of the most important lessons in life is learn to never, ever take anything for granted. And I don't want to take these people for granted. I want to put it out there, and I want to share it with those of you who may or may not be already reading their good stuff.
You know, find the people in the world who make you feel light. And whenever I talk about Stuart or Nick, or Xenia, who we haven't met yet, but we have met Nick and Stuart, I think about them. And I feel physically, I feel viscerally lighter, just knowing that they're out in the universe existing and doing great work, and making themselves happy and finding values and then imparting their wisdom to the world. It is so lovely and wonderful, and I love it. And Find the people who will make you feel light.
Yes. The crazy makers out there, the people who take every situation and apply the Midas touch, where everything they touch turns into a muffler. The crazy makers out there, the people who ruin everything, can take an assassination, the worst possible situation in the world, and make it even worse. They're going to do what they're going to do. And we need to learn to treat them the way we treat the occasional crazy person that you pass on the street who is ranting, shouting, or talking to himself, or just generally acting nuts. I mean, you may be the kind of person who will actually try to help that person, but for most situations and most of us, no, what you're going to do is you're not going to engage. You're going to walk by and say, oh, what a shame. I hope something better happens for that person. And that's what we've got to learn to do with more of the crazy makers on the internet, and for some of us in the office, or people we actually know. In our case, one or two friends of ours who we taking a bit of a time out from, and that's always a valid option. They're good people who do get sucked into these things, and time out is not a bad idea.
Right.
A little time off, a little break, a little vacation. You can't spend every day with every person, so you've got to take time off from someone. It might as well be the people who in this particular moment aren't really serving themselves or you very well.
As we often say on this show, they are on their own journey.
They are on their own journey.
And may the road rise to them, and
may the
all
road
of that.
rise to meet them. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
May they find their way and find happiness along the way.
Yeah. I said I had 5 people on the honor roll this week. The last one that I've got to mention, Mark Conway Monroe.
Oh, yes.
Those of you on Facebook or Substack already know who Mark Conway Monroe is. He is the author of the 19 editions of FileMaker. The Apple database program. He writes books on how to use Apple's database program. What's that got to do with anything? Well, he also, besides being a published author, he writes on his own Facebook wall and on a group called the John Galt Line, many of you are familiar with. And he writes some of the most reasonable stuff that's out there.
So reasonable.
He's not at all militant. He just writes like some guy who's just out there, and he's really smart, and because he writes books on database programming. And when he writes about culture and occasionally politics, but generally human behavior and philosophy, he's just right. And it's good to read somebody who gets it. He had put up a short post before one of his longer posts, and he said, "When y'all done blaming each other's political side, can we reserve a few moments to condemn the choices actually made by the murderer? Good grief." And he points out in one of his longer posts that we talk about the murderer as an aggregate, like the left killed Charlie Kirk, or the right killed Charlie, the Groypers killed Charlie Kirk. Not one person,
right? One
guy. And when you start thinking that way, then people start bringing in, well, what about the people on the left who have been murdered? The right killed them.
Let me, if you don't mind, let me do some jazz riffing on this, because I think there needs to be some chewing on this part. When somebody says that tribe, they are responsible for this, the way that I interpret that when somebody says that, because I know they're not going to go out and say, I now must become evil and do away with many people and be a murderer or something. No, they're not saying that. What they're saying is what the left believes, or what the Groypers believe, or what the right believes, or what MAGA believes, whatever it may be. It so infuriates me. Gives me, my emotions are so very angry, and I feel so out of control. And I really wish I could find some way to control this, or try to figure this out, or try to, get people to just stop thinking these bad thoughts, get them to think the right ideas, inject rationality into them, by magic. That's what I hear from people, that they themselves are frustrated with their own thinking, that they themselves do not understand they don't have the intellectual ammunition to combat the ideas that they are finding that these people are holding. And they feel powerless and helpless in trying to reason with people. And they don't take the extra step to think, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can figure this out. Maybe I can use the philosophy of objectivism to figure this out. Maybe I can read more Opar to figure this out. And I have to believe in myself. If I really want to impart wisdom to the world and be a helper and actually get people to embrace reason, these are the steps that I need to take, and this is the path that I need to go down. So when I hear people BSing, as they often do, that I try not to take them literally. I try not to literally believe that they hate, millions or billions of people who are a part of this tribe that they claim to hate. And I hope that we can all understand this. The tribalist groupthink kind of thing is irrational. It's both irrational and it's impractical. It's so it's immoral and impractical. So try to check your premises on that if you feel that you are engaging in it, and really try to use your words and translate what your emotions are really saying.
I already know from the crazy makers what their response to you is, and some of you were thinking, yeah, you can't get through to these people. Because the crazy makers are saying, well, you're talking about using words and thoughts and reason, and these people don't reason. They're not rational. You can't deal with the left. You can't deal with the right. You can't deal with, pick your poison there. And I'd responded to Mark Conway Monroe, again on my honor list this week, that what he was saying was true, but the crazy makers don't care much for the truth. But then I went on, doesn't matter. The rest of us do. Mm-hmm. And despite the way the media and the internet make it look, those of us who are still trying to figure stuff out, still care about the truth, still trying to figure out what are the facts, we are still the majority. And more than that, you out there listening right now, we are the ones who matter. Mm-hmm. Now, how do I back that up, that we are the ones who matter in the world? And the answer is the statistics bear it out. Look at crime rates. Compare them to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the years in between. And I can give you mountains and mountains of evidence. I've done it before and I will do it again. But just look at the fact that the wheels of the world are still turning. It was brought up earlier because we had somebody who was expressing some degree of pessimism on Dan Norton's show. He did one of his live YouTube shows this afternoon. And I said, well, I understand pessimism. I totally do, especially this week, given all the news. Again, if you weren't a Charlie Kirk fan, just look at our Ukrainian immigrant who came in and was brutally murdered. And I'm going to drop a bomb on you guys. Let's go with Wednesday, the day Charlie Kirk was shot. How many people were shot and killed on Wednesday? How many murders happened by firearms on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025? I don't have the answer. Nobody does. It's going to take time for anybody to compile that. But just going by statistical averages, somewhere between 50 and 125 people were murdered or killed by firearms on Wednesday. Charlie Kirk mattered more than those people. Well, in some ways he did. But the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated on Wednesday is a terrible, terrible thing. The only thing it is not is a cause for pessimism about the future. We have always had political assassinations. If you look at the crime statistics, murder by firearms and murder in general, those rates have gone down and not up. We are safer now than we have ever been. You're right to be concerned because one of the few areas in which there's been a slight trend upward, not downward, is political violence. So that is a cause for concern. And it's a bad sign for the culture. But crime in general, violent crime in general, murder, has been on a decline, has been for the last 50 years. Things are getting better, not worse. The facts, the reality backs that up. This is not just me in my usual optimistic mode. And more than that, the wheels of the world keep turning. We talk about economic downturns. Even though the Dow Jones Industrial Average topped 46,000 this week, and there are areas in which the economy is getting better, not worse, still there is cause for concern because, we have a president right now who is economically illiterate. But in general, everything has been getting better and is still getting better. That's why I still consider myself Team Dagny. Some of you will know what that means. Team Reardon. Those of us on Team Dagny might turn out to be wrong. We may get to the point in Atlas Shrugged where we say, oh my gosh, we can't get the ne'er-do-wells through this. We're not going to win. We have to do something else. But we're not there. We're not there yet. The numbers don't bear that out. Experience doesn't bear that out. The news and the internet make it seem that way, but that's about it. I could go on, but let me repeat, on the honor roll, if you are not already following these folks on Substack or Facebook or any of the socials you use, I do want to call out Mark Conway Monroe. Again, that last name is M-U-N-R-O, no E at the end.
Is there one more?
I think I mentioned everybody. Xenia, which again may be pronounced E-N-N-U. Just look up Xenia. You'll find Xenia. Stuart Margolis, Nick Provenzo, and I added Jim Ashley to the list.
Oh,
because I usually read Jim's writings either on his channel on Facebook or in the John Galt line, but he's also on Substack. I believe he has shared a Substack link this week.
Nice.
And that would be a good way to subscribe to him. I'm probably on the socials so much I never miss anything he does, but Substack's a good way to make sure you never miss something somebody does, so do that. I have a Post-it note for the week. Last night, Amy, we discussed Ayn Rand's virtues. We did chapter 8 of Opar, and we read extensively from it, not all the way through like we've done with some of the shorter essays. But we read, and here's what came out of it. There was one surprise. A lot of the virtues are applications of rationality, and it was kind of surprising that they were defined or expressed in the negative of don't do. For example, honesty, don't fake reality. And I've always thought of honesty as, well, that's being true to reality and honest in your communications. And if you get to the definition, no, that's all covered by rationality. And the point of honesty is you have to resist any temptation to fake reality.
Yes, it's a refusal to fake reality, to pretend that facts are other than they are.
And if that sounds really negative, in a way, I get that. But because these are all applications of rationality, and if you read Opar, you'll see that in every one of these instances, it makes perfect sense. But the positive, for me, the overall positive of virtues in the whole book and the whole philosophy is, this is the owner's manual for life. This is how to have a good life. This is how to achieve your values and be happy. In other words, it's all for you. What is honesty? It's telling you not to lie.
Right.
What is rationality? Well, it's telling you not to be irrational. It's not that at all. The whole reason to be honest, the whole reason to be just, the whole reason to practice any of these virtues is for your own sake, for you, to be happy, to be successful, to get the most you can out of life. These are not prohibitions. These are instructions.
Yes.
This is like the ultimate IKEA diagram of how to have a great life. Put these all together. It's not about repress this and don't be irrational. No, it's about here's how to get everything you want. So my Post-it note for the week says, and I've used this one before, and this goes out to all the Ayn Rand fans, all the objectivists. My Post-it note for the week, you should put this on a Post-it note and stick it up somewhere. Well, why would I put that up? It just says be selfish. On a very cute Post-it note that came from Jennifer, who gave me these charming Post-it notes, and I was using one the other day. I thought, I got to put my Post-it note for the week on there. Be selfish. Well, I put up a post this week about that, and I got a little pushback from my non-objectivist friends, and I get it. In fact, I got some pushback from some objectivists, too, who have said we shouldn't be using the word selfish that way. To some people, it means out of context, whim worshipping, or not being willing to do one thing that is a lesser value for something that's a greater value. People call that sacrifice, and, that's okay. I don't use the words that way, but I get that people do, so that's okay. If you're not an objectivist, my Post-it note for the week for you says, be good to yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And being honest is being good to yourself.
Yes.
Being just is being good to yourself. Having integrity is being good. It's not something you're doing so you don't get caught or so other people don't judge you or so you don't feel guilty. It's something you do because it's for your own sake. So be good to yourself, including practice all of the virtues that are the instructions for a good life.
There's a couple sentences that I that I want to read here is from the section Rationality as the Primary Virtue from Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand by Dr. Leonard Peikoff. It says, to value reason is the opposite not only of rejecting it, but also of accepting it dutifully. In regard to the mind, the objectivist is not disinterested or grudging. He does not say, I myself would rather be irrational, but since A is A, I agree not to hold contradictions. On the contrary, grasping the vital role of consciousness, he awards reason the fundamental place in his personal value structure. And it goes on. You have to read it. But
I love that. The idea of not begrudging these virtues. I'd rather be irrational, but damn, reality is
I guess I'm duty bound to be rational.
It is.
No. Rationality and embracing reason is selfish. It's good for you.
Yes.
And you have to approach morality in that way.
So this little section in bold here on my show notes for the week. On 5 minutes, I have show notes, and then we riff on those. When I used to do the show Life on Earth, I used to actually write scripts. And I would still riff and go off script, but I would read. And this time I'm going to read. But I'm going to end the show with it. So is there anything in the chat that we want to... There's been some great comments in the chat, and I'm loving it. And you're right, Greg. It is getting better all the time. I used to be cruel to my woman. I beat her and... Wait, I didn't do any of that.
What?
Well, John Lennon was such a mixed up guy.
Yes.
But,
he didn't always give peace a chance, did he?
yeah. Actually, which version of Getting Better was the one you liked? Who was that by?
Oh, The Wedding Present.
Wedding Present. They do a very snappy version of the song Getting
wonderful.
Better. Yeah,
it is very fast.
If you like that tune, look that one up.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's so much good stuff in the chat. But do we have anything we need to answer before I
think we kind of
This is the week that was. High profile murders, not just one, and countless low profile murders that you didn't even hear about. And I don't mean to equate that. Again, I don't mean to say, well, we shouldn't care about Charlie Kirk because other people got murdered too. No, I think it's just a matter of putting it in perspective, especially if you're thinking, oh my God, if this happened, things must be getting much worse. Mm-hmm. No, sorry. And run the numbers. Well, I'm not going to even get into it. Point is, let me say this. I told you I would have 3 take-home points. Put these in your metaphorical pocket. Take these home with you. And these are for your sake. Like everything in philosophy, it should be in your own self-interest. Number 1, free speech is an essential of free thought.
Yes.
It's a mistake people sometimes make that, well, even if they don't let you say it, you can still think it. No, if you detach what you can communicate from what you can think, you will eventually destroy your ability even to have those thoughts. And there are heroes who can hold on to certain things even in a jail cell. But if you sever that connection, you become the destroyer. No, free speech is an essential of free thought. If you can't speak, thought becomes moot. It becomes pointless. So, one is wise to not take it for granted. I'm not going to say you're wrong if you don't get it. You're wrong if this. You should say that. You should do that. I'm not going to say you should do anything. But one is wise to not take free speech for granted.
Yes.
Learn to say that. If you disagree with somebody, don't say you are wrong. Say, here's what is right.
Yeah.
Or here's what is wise. Or here's what would be helpful to you. It's one of the hard things about being an objectivist is having to go to everybody who's not and say, just about everything you know is wrong. And there are better ways to do that. Free speech is essential. It is wise not to take that for granted. Number 2, and I've already touched on this. Number 2, your take-home points. Put this in your pocket. The world is safer. both historically and in recent decades, than it has ever been in history.
Yes.
Life.
That's true.
Life has always been challenging. Life has always been risky, but less so over time. If you don't feel that, if that doesn't sound right, if that doesn't feel real to you, look up the stats. They're online. Or read Steven Pinker's book on the subject, The Better Angels of Our Nature. Or whatever sources, if you're like, Pinker, but some people disagree with him, look up whatever sources you like. Life has never been safer.
Yeah.
And in countless ways, it's never been better.
Right.
And that means you got to be selfish and get out there and live the best life you can. If you are letting dystopianism or ennui or depression stop you, well, I'm not going to say you must snap out of it, but I am going to say, no, success is still possible, and you deserve a huge chunk of it.
Mm-hmm.
And number 3, well, before I get to number 3, did you have something here?
Oh, I just wanted to, this is an Amy takeaway real quick. It might blend in with yours, but on September 11th, since it was such a crappy day.
Oh, no. What about September 11th?
No, this is what I posted on Facebook.
Okay.
I said, let's all be kind to ourselves today. Assume positive intent and look for the helpers and the beauty around you. Realize that even today, there's so much good going on in the world right this moment. And life-affirming ideas and values are efficacious. Yes.
It's an old joke people would say, money can't buy you happiness. You say, well, money can't buy you happiness and you don't know where to shop. If you ever feel like the world is getting worse, if you ever feel dystopian, if you ever feel depressed, get some money. If you don't have money, go take out a loan. Do whatever you've got to do and go to a nice restaurant. Now, it doesn't have to be, Yaron Brook level Michelin stars restaurant. Go to a nice restaurant or go to a shopping mall or go to a sports event or go to a museum or go to a rock and roll concert or go to the orchestra or go to any of 1,000 places where the wheels of the world are still turning as well or better than ever before, as well as, I got my pronouns and connections there wrong, as well as or better than ever before. It's amazing out there. And here's the crazy part of it. Here's the really crazy part of it.
What?
It's not just the stuff is out there, it's people. It's people doing it.
No way.
It's people on stage. It's people on the sports field. It's people serving your meal. It's people making your coffee. It's people running the department stores. It's people in the museums.
Yep.
Oh, no, people are getting worse. Everybody's rotten. No, they're not. Well, on the internet and on the news, if you want like a microscope or a magnifying glass to find the rotten people, you can do that. But the world's getting better all the time. Okay, my number 3 take-home point. And this goes back to the whole point of this episode, the whole show title, Serge, something must be done. Number 3. What can and should one do? What should you do? Ayn Rand wrote a whole episode, What Can One Do?
Yeah.
She made the point in that essay, did I say episode? Essay. If you ask the question that way, the answer is nothing. No, one person can't, and yet I know how many objectivists or Ayn Rand fans who say, I got to do something. I got to save the world. I got to save the world from irrationality. Ayn Rand's like, if you ask the question that way, you can't do anything. You can only do what you can do. And my point, you can do the pointy finger here at the screen. Sorry if you're listening to the podcast and you can't see this. You can do nothing and everything. You can do nothing to change everything, but you can do everything to change everything about yourself, your own life, your situation, your friends, your family, your kindred spirits, the people that you go out and see in the real world. You can do nothing to change everything, but you can do everything to change yourself. And that's enough.
It is enough, and it's more than enough.
It's always been enough, and it always will be enough. Now, you might start a podcast and play your own little part in changing the world. But 5 minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, well, we've had people say it's improved their lives or taught them things they didn't know before, and maybe that's helping change the world. It's not going to bring Charlie Kirk back to the life. It's not going to bring our Ukrainian immigrant back to life. It's not going to stop those things from ever happening again. No, we're going to play our role. We're going to have our small, small part. And yet we're going to play a huge role in our own lives. Maybe we'll play a little role in your life. That is not only enough, that's everything. That is the stuff. That's what matters. What you do with your life and your people. In Père Henri's sermon at the end of the film Chocolat, seeing the film, you'll recognize this. If you haven't, just imagine a young priest talking to the congregation. He's really unsure of himself. He's not sure what to say. But he sums up the one of the lessons of the films. One of the reasons why Leonard Peikoff said, Chocolat, if you could change one or two lines in it, it would be the perfect movie. Père Henri's up there. He says, I think we can't go around measuring our goodness by what we don't do, what we deny ourselves, what we resist, and who we exclude. I think we've got to measure goodness by what we embrace, by what we create, and who we include. Unquote, Père Henri. So for tonight, for this week, maybe for more than this week, consider focusing on just the positive assertion there. We've got to measure goodness by what we embrace, by what we create. What matters, what we should focus on, what we should take action on, is that which we embrace and that which we create. How we live our individual, how we live our lives. Yeah, something must be done. A lot of things must be done. Let's do them.
Let's.
So thank you for joining us. This has been 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. Sorry, I had to get that off of my chest. I hope that had some value for you.
Linda says, Robert is on fire.
That occasionally happens like in our daily life, and Amy will say to whoever we're around at the time, oh, Robert's in podcast mode. And I don't get that fired up during the podcast as much as I used to. Maybe I should more.
Yeah.
I think this is important, though. And we've made the point in different ways, and this week it's so important to remember what matters.
Yes.
If you are an advocate of the virtue of selfishness or just of being good to yourself, do that. Let's do it. Folks, thank you for joining us. This has been 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, and we are glad you have been here. If you would like to support what we do at this show, we're looking for a new patron. What do you mean you're looking for a new patron? Well, we lost one of our patrons last month. Somebody who has supported the show for years, and I don't think she in any way doesn't support the show anymore, but people come and go. At patreon.com/Robert Nasir, you can find our Patreon. You could become a patron of the show. You could send us $1, $2, $5. I think $2 might be the minimum. A couple dollars every month. I think the staunchest supporter is in the $50 category there. But if you could send us a couple dollars every month just to say, hey, keep doing what you're doing, that would be great. If you don't have that desire or the money, just like the show. Go on YouTube, because YouTube, we're counting those numbers even more than Facebook. Like the show. If you're feeling really bold and you're like, hey, I can do this, share the show. Yes, put your own reputation on the line by saying, hey, I don't think these guys are too crazy. You should listen to them. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit the button that says subscribe. There's like 3 things you can do that don't cost anything. Like, share, subscribe. And with that said, I think all that is left is for us to thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.
We wish you
I'm grateful for you being here, listening to us, and staying on this journey with us. It means a lot. And I know a lot of you personally, and it's pretty awesome that we do. And I hope to continue meeting more of you fine folks.
Yes, including at the Irreplaceable Spark Conference. If you don't know what that is, look it up. We'll be there.
Yep.
And with that, we wish you... I mean, Ayn Rand fans don't use wishes. Read Atlas Shrugged. Read that line from Francisco. Afraid to wish, Mr. Reardon?
Yes.
Wish that I could like you as much as I do. Brothers in spirit.
Yeah.
Yes, we wish you all of the success. All the success that you so richly deserve. How do I know that you deserve success? Maybe you don't deserve... No. People who don't deserve success don't get through 5 minutes, much less an hour and 27 minutes of a show like this. No, we wish you all the success you so richly deserve. We wish you happiness. And on top of it all, like on top of the whipped cream with a big cherry on top, we wish you love.